Hello, BookTube. Well, these late night mail hauls continue. It's the same story. I had a full day, dealt with a ton of books, played with Frida, talked with Deb about playing with Frida, got to writing, and didn't get around to the mail until it was the wee small hours. I have lots of other BookTube videos that I want to make. I just, these days, have been so swamped with work that I haven't done it. Even though it doesn't take long to do. I don't want to join the ranks of booktubers who make it sound like they're charging the beaches at Normandy in order just to make a 20-minute video. I know it's not that hard. It's just sometimes you get into the flow of work and you just don't do it. But I'm hoping to correct that when the sun comes up. I am largely out from under this latest wodge of work, in which case that should be possible. And in the meantime, I thought I'd open these packages with you. Because it feels kind of lonely to open my mail on my own now. So we'll start with this one. This is a cardboard thing that had a big gap in it. Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. Okay, I think this is a reprint. This is Jonathan Rabb, Among the Living. A nice band of color across the middle of a largely blue color. I think this is going to say now out in paperback. Because I don't, do I remember this being out already? Let us see. Yes, I think so. Well, anyway, let's see what we have here. Nearly 70 years ago, the United States offered settlement to Jewish refugees after the Holocaust. By 1952, almost 130,000 Jewish refugees had resided in the United States, having established homes in growing and thriving communities all over the country. Set in Savannah, Georgia, Jonathan Rabb's novel Among the Living tells the riveting and traumatic story of a concentration camp survivor thrust into the world of 1947 Savannah during the Jim Crow era. Given the current debates about refugees and racism in the United States, Among the Living is timely and revealing. Okay. Well, okay, no mention there. This gives a late February publication date, but no mention that it has ever appeared before. So maybe it hasn't. Maybe I'm getting confused with something else. Sounds fascinating. So So I must be confusing it with something else. All right, well, so we've got historical fiction to start off with, which is always nice. Let's see what we can do next here. Here in the dark heart of the night. Let's see here. Next one's from Soho Press. They're always so wonderful. This comes out in May. What have we got here? This is by Steve Tutongi, and it's called Side Life. It's two cats on the cover. And this is going to be a hardcover, okay, in May. And the author is a native of Seattle who studied fiction and poetry while completing a BA in anthropology at Stanford. Wow, impressive. After various professional forays, he began a career in technology that led him from Silicon Valley back to Seattle. And he's the author of a previous novel called Join. And what is this one? Dazzling, paranoid literary sci-fi for fans of Blake Crouch and Philip K. Dick. That's setting the bar kind of high. Halfway. Vin, a down-on-his-luck young tech entrepreneur, forced out of the software company he started, takes a job house-sitting an ultra-modern Seattle mansion whose owner has gone missing. There he discovers a secret basement lab with an array of computers and 3 large, smooth caskets. Inside one he finds a woman in a state of suspended animation. There's also a dog-eared notebook filled with circuit diagrams, beautiful and intricate drawings of body parts, and pages of code. When Vin decides to climb into one of the caskets to see what happens, oh God help us, only in fiction, his reality begins to unravel. He finds himself on a terrifying journey that asks fundamental questions about reality, free will, and the meaning of human life. Okay, well that sounds fascinating. That really does. That sounds fascinating. Of course, no one anywhere outside of a novel would climb into one of those caskets to see what happens. But I guess where would we be if people in novels behave like people in real life? The main thing is, hearing that setup, I am curious to read more. And that's the whole thing with fiction. So, okay, so Side Life. is the next one. All right, let's move on here. This has certainly been intriguing. Okay, this is like more science fiction. Is that what this is? This is from Thomas and Mercer, and it's called Punishment by Scott Halliday. It came out February 1st, so it's out now. I seem to recall seeing this. Did I see this on somewhere on BookTube? Someone saying they were looking forward to it in February, or maybe had a copy, an advanced copy. Let's see. Detroit-based homicide detective John Barnes has seen it all, literally. With the aid of extremely advanced technology, his police force now has access to the memories of the living, the dying, and the recently dead. Barnes simply has to lay back, close his eyes, connect to the new machine, and live the experiences of murder victims as if they were his very own, up to the very last second. There's a hydrogen molecule that has been traveling from the heart of Earth's star to the surface of the sun for 1,000 years. And homicide detective John Barnes has not seen it. There may be bacterial sludge at the bottom of the dark oceans on the moon Europa. And homicide detective John Barnes has not seen it. There have been countless generations of antelope and gorilla and snow leopard that have lived and mated and died in the wild in the last 10,000 years, and homicide detective John Barnes has not seen them. Homicide detective John Barnes has not literally seen everything. But I get the point. So, extracting victims' experiences firsthand and personally reliving everything up to the final brutal moments of their lives, the sights, the sounds, the scents, and the pain, is breaking Barnes down. He uses the machine more than anyone else on the force, and each session takes a greater toll on his weakened mind. When the machine clicks off, the memories linger. Barnes can't take it anymore. He's had enough of the memories that aren't his, enough of the horror and violence, enough of the voices inside his head that shout at him and plead for mercy. He's ready to take his own life and be done with it all. But in J. Scott Halliday's unforgettable psychological thriller Punishment, a skull-masked serial killer makes his mission to keep Barnes alive and suffering. Oh man, this is taking all kinds of great turns. That took all kinds of great turns. I can forgive the idiotic 21st century use of literally to mean figuratively, or partially, or almost, when if you say, well, idiom rules, usage rules, it's just the way people talk now, only a purist would say otherwise. In this case, when we're not talking about a degree of just a simple describing adjective, we're talking about something that literally delineates one reality from another, then you might as well say, well, when I use the word moon, I mean the word sun. It's just idiom. Anybody who say otherwise is just a priss. But I can forgive that for the strength of the plot we just heard of. So who is Scott J. Halliday when he's at home? He was born and raised in Detroit. My sympathies. In addition to a lifelong love of books and reading, he's pursued a range of curiosities and interests, including glass-blowing, boxing, and much more. His two previous novels are Stonefly and Normal, the latter of which earned him recognition on Incubate.com's Literary Blockbuster Challenge. Okay. Alright, so this is out already. This came out on February the 1st. Punishment. Okay, so we've got 3 made-up stories so far. And although they all sound intriguing, there was no Steve book yet. Let's see. Let's see if we can continue here. The noise of me opening these things up has woken up a very groggy little puppy. Oh, okay. I think we saw this in an advanced copy. This is the finished copy. Quite nice. Finished copy. I was just talking about you. How you doing, little one? Huh? How you doing, baby? I was just talking about you. Oh, you're a good girl. Why don't you sit down, or lay down, or fall down until I finish here. So this goes out in mid-March, and this is Paris Metro by Wendell Stevenson. Nice pretty thing from W.W. Norton. A vivid and suspenseful tale of culture clashes that have defined the 21st century between secularism and religion, tolerance and fundamentalism, East and West, as well as one woman's quest to find her place in the world. Wendell Stevenson is a renowned reporter, and this is her fiction debut. Drawing deeply on her own experiences living in the Middle East and France, she tells the story of Catherine Kitteridge, a journalist who has followed the war on terror from the American invasion of Iraq in 2003 to the attack on the Paris nightclub in 2015. Kit is the only child of an American war reporter and a British telex operator who met in the Associated Press's Saigon Bureau in the 1970s. She grew up between New England and London, craving stories of her missing father's adventurous past. She follows in his footsteps, beginning in Moscow, then Afghanistan. In Baghdad, she falls in love and marries the dashing Ahmed, despite latent concerns about ellipses in his life story and his connections to shadowy and violent figures. Is he really who she thinks he is? Wait a minute. She's a reporter? Yes, she's a reporter. She reports everywhere from Moscow to Afghanistan. But in Baghdad, she falls in love with a man who has massive ellipses in his life and marries him? Now married and living in Beirut, Ahmed finally admits he has a son, little Ahmed. When his son's mother is killed in a crossfire in Baghdad, he is sent to live with Kit and his father. Kit grows to love the headstrong Iraqi child and adopts him, even as his relationship with Ahmed becomes increasingly estranged. Even as her relationship with Ahmed becomes increasingly estranged. They move to Paris and raise little Ahmed in a stable environment, but the tensions between Kit and her husband continued as violent convulsions of the Arab Spring break into a new chapter of violence in the Middle East. Wow, okay, so this sounds really ambitious for a debut novel. Also sounds like it draws, of course, very heavily on her own personal experience. This is fascinating. Okay. All right, well, this is very odd for me. This is all fiction so far, and yet it's all fiction that intrigues. I mean, don't you find these descriptions intriguing? This is... sometimes, I admit, sometimes the made-up stories don't cover themselves in glory when we're looking at them, but these all sound fascinating. Okay, so that's Paris Metro by Wendell Stevenson. Nice finished copy. And then the last one. This last one, then we'll finish up for now. What is this? What is this last one? Okay, that's a pretty thing. This is by Aaron Duffy. It's another novel, so this is entirely fiction. It's entirely fiction mail haul. This is Regrets Only. There's little flowers on the side there. And what have we got here? So Aaron Duffy apparently has written 2 other books. One was called Bond Girl, and the other was Lost Along the Way. And this new book is a fresh, funny take on the classic coming-of-age narrative, the second coming-of-age, and that sometimes happens when life throws an unexpected curve. In Regrets Only, the name of this novel, Claire is thrown just such a curve when she catches her husband romancing their realtor. Claire thought she had everything a woman was supposed to want, a loving husband, newborn son, and beautiful suburban home. With everything awry and her marriage heading for divorce, Claire knows it's time to stop feeling sorry for herself. For starters, she can get rid of her soon-to-be ex's possessions, including his prized gigantic foosball table. I think I vaguely know what foosball is. By dumping them into the curb until complaints from the neighbors get the police involved. When not dodging mean mommies at story hour and hiding her ex-husband's girlfriend in the grocery store, hiding from her ex-husband's girlfriend in the grocery store, Claire turns to girlfriends Lissy and Antonia. Together they work to rebrand Lissy's local stationery store and turn it into a thriving business, hence the cover illustration, I would imagine. But as Claire soon learns, Suburbia still has a few surprises in store, surprises that will make her question her choice from the past, send her down an unexpected road to self-discovery, and maybe even new love. Okay. All right, so, and the publicity sheet here mentions that Kirkus Reviews said it was perfect for fans of Ellen Hildebrand and Jane Green. And the elements of that did remind me of Ellen Hildebrand. Okay. And Aaron Duffy graduated from Georgetown University in 2000 with a BA in English and worked on Wall Street. Okay, so this is more fiction. This is did I say the date on this? This comes out as a paperback in early May. Wow, how long has it been since we had an only fiction mail haul? I don't even remember. And all over the map too in terms of kinds of fiction. We have Paris Metro, which sounds topical and very tense. We have Punishment. Gritty science fiction, to say the least. Regrets Only, which sounds a little bit lighter. Sounds like something you would read, for fun. Maybe as a pace changer between some of these other novels. Then Side Life, about a guy who steps into a cryogenic chamber in somebody's basement just to see what it would be like. And I wonder what will happen. I actually do wonder what will happen, though. So the silliness of the detail is totally absolved. And Among the Living, about a Holocaust refugee in the Jim Crow era American South. So it's like the mail haul of some other booktuber. But I'm okay with it. So I will post this video when the sun comes up. And when the sun is up, I will attempt to make more videos. Thank you, BookTube.